was a criminal name with fear. Known for killing 50 innocent people, his brutal methods left authorities baffled and terrified communities in their wake. But his killing spree was only the beginning. What followed would be even more chilling. Not only did Carter take the lives of 50 people, but he also murdered police officers and managed to escape from one of the most secure prisons in the country. The story of John Carter is one of unimaginable horror, relentless pursuit, and a shocking escape that left the law enforcement in disbelief. At first, Carter's crimes were isolated and seemed to have no connection. His victims were from all walks of life, making it hard for the authorities to connect them. But over time, it became clear that the killings were not random. Carter had a method, a purpose behind his actions. His ability to carefully choose his victims and execute his plans without leaving a trace made him an expert at evading capture. He never made a mistake until the day he crossed the line and killed a police officer. It was the murder of Officer Emily Harris that finally forced the police into overdrive. Officer Harris had been one of the most dedicated members of the local force, and her death sent shockwaves through the department. The city was plunged into panic, and the authorities knew they had to act quickly. For the first time, the focus shifted from catching a faceless serial killer to hunting down a dangerous individual with no mercy for anyone, police officers included. Carter's crimes became personal. His pattern of killing was not just random anymore. He had escalated to actively hunting the people sworn to protect the city. After months of relentless investigation, Carter was finally cornered. A coordinated effort between local police, federal agents, and special task forces led to his capture. It seemed as though the nightmare was finally over. John Carter, the ghost killer, had been apprehended and was thrown behind bars in one of the most secure prisons in the nation. But what no one realized at the time was that Carter was just as dangerous behind bars as he had been on the streets. He wasn't the type of criminal to sit idly by and wait for his sentence. He had other plans, plans that no one could have predicted. In the quiet of his prison cell, Carter began working on his escape. He spent weeks, even months, gathering information, bribing insiders, and carefully studying every detail of the prison. His escape wasn't going to be a hasty decision. Carter was a planner, and he wanted to make sure everything went perfectly. He knew the prison inside and out, and he knew the guards' schedules, the layout, and the weak spots in the security system. All he needed was the right moment. That moment came one stormy night when a massive power outage plunged the prison into darkness. The chaos that followed was exactly what Carter had been waiting for. The guards were disoriented, the alarms were malfunctioning, and the prison was in lockdown. It was the perfect opportunity. As the prison fell into disarray, Carter made his move. He overpowered a guard, took his weapon, and began his escape. But he didn't stop there. He killed another officer in cold blood as he made his way out of the facility. It was as if he was sending a message. No one was going to stop him. In mere minutes, Carter had vanished into the night. The authorities had no idea where he was or how he managed to escape. The prison that was thought to be impenetrable had failed. Once again, John Carter had slipped through the cracks, and the city was thrown back into a state of fear and confusion. The news of his escape spread like wildfire, and law enforcement agencies nationwide launched a manhunt to capture him. Roadblocks were set up, helicopters circled the skies, and police forces combed every inch of the city. But Carter had planned his escape too well. He was familiar with the area, and he knew exactly how to stay one step ahead of the authorities. Every time they thought they had him cornered, he disappeared. Carter had become a ghost once again, an invisible force haunting the very streets he once terrorized. For weeks the manhunt continued, but there were no leads. No one knew where Carter was, or even if he was still in the city. The fear that had once gripped the public intensified as they realized that this killer, who had already taken the lives of 50 people and murdered police officers, was still out there, lurking in the shadows. And then, just as quickly as it had started, the search for John Carter went quiet. His name faded from the news, and the police eventually stopped actively looking for him, though his face remained on wanted posters for years. Whether he had escaped the country, gone into hiding, or simply disappeared, no one knew. What was clear, though, was that Carter's legacy of violence would never be forgotten. His escape was not just a failure for the authorities, it was a